Suspension laws for Massachusetts public schools just went into effect last week. Western Mass News reporter Kristen Burnell joins us live after getting answers on the impact. Kristen.
Chris, I checked in with local school districts to find out how those changes are impacting their school systems. Public schools in the Bay State now have new requirements to follow when it comes to student suspensions and expulsions. Included in the updated law now in place, when deciding the consequences for the student, shall consider ways to re-engage the student in the learning process and shall not suspend or expel a student until alternative remedies have been employed. Western Mass News is getting answers from local school districts on how this change is impacting their schools.
We agree. I mean, it's not a bad thing keeping kids in school and making sure that we're looking at alternative strategies when we're imposing progressive discipline.
According to the state law, some of those alternative remedies to school suspensions include mediation, conflict resolution, restorative justice, and collaborative problem solving. Dr. Vito Perrone, interim superintendent at West Springfield Public Schools, tells us what these alternative remedies look like in the classroom.
Let's sit them down and do a mediation, a little conflict mediation with a counselor, and give them an opportunity to be heard, give them an opportunity to listen, and that's really key in the situation like that, de-escalate the emotions of the situation, and really be objective with how we can solve a problem with our words instead of with actions.
Azel Kavan with Springfield Public Schools tells us the district had already started implementing these types of changes years ago to help with their suspension rate.
In 2011, for that school year, we had over 3,000 out-of-school suspensions, close to 3,500 suspensions. And last year, we had about 1,000 suspensions.
And she adds that number dropped to 700 suspensions just before the pandemic, but they saw an uptick as students returned to in-person learning.
There were a number of behavioral issues that sort of had to be mitigated. Students had been out of the classroom for so long. There had been such a lack of structure with remote learning that, it took some time to get students back on track to being in the school building.
Now, Kavan also tells me they have ramped up communication efforts about behavioral issues to parents and the school district. Reporting live in Springfield, Kristen Burnell, Western Mass News.